What's up? Welcome back to a new episode of the Glue Guys. I'm Landon Lucas. That's my dad, Richard Lucas, if this is the first time you guys are listening. And yet again, we're just week after week, we're here celebrating a nice Jayhawks win. This one was a little bit more stressful than the last two. The last two were nice, easy coast. This one was a little dicey there for a while, but they looked great in the second half and made a 15-point comeback all the way to handle business at Allen Fieldhouse to open Big 12 play 1-0. I just found out, they kept mentioning it during the game. We're like on a 31-year win streak or something ridiculous as far as games go. Or Big 12 league opening games go. So they extended that streak and got another dub. You know who else got dubs today?
Who's that?
You and I did in our in our fantasy football championship. So congratulations to you and congratulations to me. I guess we got the job done. Even with Gardner Minshew, we both had the same starting quarterback. Believe it or not.
Right. So two different leagues. Yeah. But is it bad if I bring up the fact that the league that I won, that you were also in, that you came in like 11th? Place, I believe.
I don't want to talk about that. I'm in two leagues and I won one of the leagues. So that's all that matters to me.
Okay.
And if you want to bring up that, I'll bring up the fact that in your championship game, you had somebody who just happened to forget to start Mike Evans, who went for 44 points, and then has a tight end starting in her flex spot. But I mean, for all of our viewers, this is somebody who doesn't take fantasy football very seriously, obviously. In the championship game, that's her lineup. But
she won 11 games, smoked both of us in the regular season, and made it to the championship. So you should give her more credit than that.
Whatever. Anyways, congratulations to you and congratulations to the Jayhawks who finished the year off in great fashion. It was almost a disaster and almost went very far downhill going into, as we know, these practices during the break and opening up league play. That's not what you want to do. However, they do have a quick turnaround. They're going to Texas Tech coming up soon. First half, go ahead.
But I have a question before we go into kind of the game itself. You know, it's we've seen now some games pretty recently where KU has handled business right from jump, right, and the end result was never in question. And then you've got this one where it was all, it was the opposite essentially, and wasn't sure what was going to happen. But in the end, Jayhawks win. As a fan, which one do you enjoy watching? Is it one that's a little more competitive and you're like, hey, this is kind of nice and kind of fun and I can really see the energy? Or hey, I could watch something else while at the same time because they're handling their business?
Well, if you mean that there's going to be a comeback where they come back and win, I would take that 10 out of 10 times. Now, if they were going to continue to lose by 15 the rest of the game, that's no fun. And the first half was pretty annoying and stressful. But, I was talking to Kelly about this. I was just at the game where they blew out Indiana. And I was like, this one would have been a little bit more fun to be at, just as a fan, the crowd getting into it. You have some drama. It's just like going and I was at the Wilder Fury boxing fight where it was back and forth. You got one guy getting knocked down and then the other guy and stuff. That's more fun to watch than somebody just put it on a clinic. I know that's, the easy way and it's nice to have those games. But me personally, I enjoy a little bit of back and forth, some drama to the game. I also enjoyed getting Kansas at plus 290 at halftime. That was some nice money. As soon as I saw that, I was like, all right, well, Kansas at home, I got to bet this. But, it is more fun, I would say, as a fan. And as a player, while those blowout wins are nice, I think stuff like this is important. You have to go through this. Just like last year, you saw a lot of those games where they learned how to grind back from deficits. They learned how to handle business at the end of the game and put stops together to come back in games. And that's what allowed them ultimately to make that run in the tournament and then finish with that great comeback against North Carolina. So I think both ways, games like these, this one that we just saw is completely needed.
Right. And the thing is too is that, I may not have been as sure of things as you at halftime, but I will say though that, being down by 15 for almost any other team in almost any other environment is a massive deficit.
Yeah.
But for Hall of Fame coach for this level of a team, and then you sprinkle in Allen Fieldhouse, it felt like 15 down was definitely something that was doable, and obviously they took care of business. I mean, really, what you're going to be doing is saying at halftime, and I'm not sure exactly what Coach Self would say, but I know one of the things that I would say is, we have to figure some things out, right? Let's talk about some X and O's, but really, it's not too much about that. It's a lot about what's going on in here, and Oklahoma State came in with a feeling like, because right away you could see that they felt like they belonged, and that takes away the advantage of Allen Fieldhouse a little bit, right? And so that second half, I'm like, we got to jump right on him. Let's not try and gain it all. Let's get some stops. And we can chip away, because before you know it, it's under 10, and then it's anybody's ball game from there.
Yeah, and the one thing that we used to always emphasize, I know Coach Self does, every time we're down and trying to make a comeback, is take it just one TV timeout at a time. Because the game is pretty much played in 4-minute segments, especially when you're on national television. You have these long breaks that come, every 4 minutes of gameplay. If you can just focus on winning that next 4 minutes, it allows you to just make the game a little bit easier, make that comeback a little bit easier. Now, they came out and jumped on them pretty early, but that's just the best way to handle it, is just focus on 4 minutes at a time. Obviously, there's no 15-point play. Everybody knows that. So just one possession, one stop at a time, and then you can see the momentum shift. All that confidence that they gained, we can hang with them, this and that, that quickly goes out the door. And I was talking to the people I was watching the game with, and as soon as I don't even think they got within 10. I think it was still like a 10 or 11-point game. And I told them, I was like, yeah, they're coming back. I don't know if they'll finish the job, but they're making this a game, because you could just see that it was starting to get to Oklahoma State a little bit. They were starting to feel that energy of the crowd. They were starting to just do a little bit of uncharacteristic stuff, take some shots that when the other team's on a run, you shouldn't be taking. It's cool when you're making all your shots and you're the one on the run, but not when the other team is. And just doing some things that you could tell, all right, Kansas is going to have a chance to win this. They just have to continue to do what they are doing. And they got the job done. And I want to give a shout out to Grady Dick, because he finished with 8 points. So not much. They pretty much face guarded him the whole time. Their game plan was clearly, we're going to have one person to take him away. Kind of like what happened. You remember in high school when they used to have the one guy that would just like put his head on my chest and follow me around and stuff?
It was usually like a football player or something as well.
Exactly.
They would just have him, and they're like, I don't care what you do, where you go, anything. I want you to look at his sternum the entire time.
Yes, it's no fun. But anyways, he got a little bit of that treatment from Oklahoma State. I forgot exactly the name of the guy who was on him, but pretty much just dedicated to taking him out of the game. However, the guy finished with 9 rebounds and 3 massive offensive rebounds that led to 3-pointers each time. And you and I both know how huge possessions like those are in comebacks, where you turn a missed shot on a run that, you're trying to put together stops and then buckets on the other end into a 3 for your own team, and him hustling, getting in and getting his nose dirty and getting those rebounds, even though he's not, having the night that he usually does offensively. I thought that was huge. And I think that he is a huge part of the comeback that Kansas made in the game.
Well, the thing too is that it shows his maturity, because really he played like he was an upperclassman. And if you think about it, typically when you have somebody who has been, All-American, has been so good and has scored all the time and always, and he's been getting all his accolades and stuff like that. I see all the signs in the stands and all that stuff. People love Grady Dick, right? Rightfully so. And then you have a lack of offensive scoring and output like he did. Some players might just go into the tank or might just feel sorry for themselves or whatever, or just take it in a sense where it's all about them as opposed to the team. And he was like, hey, this is what's going to happen. I'm just going to do what it takes for our team to win. And if that means me not scoring, because he's an unbelievable scorer, everybody knows that, then fine, I'm going to lend, my athleticism in some other areas. And he got those big offensive rebounds and got him extra possession. So absolutely kudos to him for his play.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And he's shown time and time again that maturity. It almost just seems, and announcers say it every game, it seems like he's been there for a while. It seems like he's built up. He's just like some junior that's gone through almost like a Svi, gone through a couple years where he got some minutes, but never, was like really relied upon. And then now it's his opportunity and he's taking full advantage. He's doing that as a true freshman. And I think that that's something that we're all just witnessing, is that he's much more mature than a lot of people were expecting coming into this year. And he can be one of those guys that is a mature leader on this team that maybe we weren't expecting from him originally. So I think that that's huge. I think KJ provided some great minutes. Finished, I think, with 14 points. He developed a little baby floater in the lane, which I think for somebody his size is very important, because you have to be able to take a roll, and instead of continuing to the hoop, which we saw against Tennessee, having some struggles to finish against bigger guys, now you develop that little floater. It's a nice little way to make up for a little bit of that size difference. He also had a big game winner there at the end. And then you have Kevin McCullough with the block at the end. Just a lot of guys stepping up to make big plays. And I think that that's what you want to see in a game like this, because you want to know that you can rely on multiple guys to make multiple plays in order to close out a Big 12 game, which you got to win those home games against a team like Oklahoma State.
Well, no question about it. And the thing that I thought kind of came out from this game is the fact that, he still had his players who had the heavy minutes, which was, it's, you've got your six or so who are playing, 25, 38 plus minutes a game. But then the thing that was nice is those who did get time, they were contributors. Like they didn't just come out and take some time on the court and then all of a sudden now they go out. I mean, when they came in, they really contributed, to everything that was going on. So you gotta like that, because in anything in athletics, and we were talking fantasy football, a player goes down, somebody needs to step up, right? So you never know when there may be a player that is getting heavy minutes now that has to miss a game or two. And so, it's nice to know at least that some of these players that are not getting tons of minutes, but when they do get in, they're making really good quality of those minutes. And it's probably gaining some trust with Coach Self and the coaching staff as well.
Yeah, well, great transition to who we have as our guest today, because Cam Martin was one of those guys who came in and contributed for a couple minutes. And so let's go ahead and bring him on and talk a little bit with Cam.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
Cam, man, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good. Thanks for joining us today. We were just talking about the game the other day and how a lot of guys stepped up and contributed in their minutes. Congratulations to you, because you came on the court, and for those few minutes that you were in, I mean, you made a big impact. How did it feel to, get in and make some noise in the game?
It felt awesome, man. It's been a minute since I got to play a meaningful basketball game with the red shirt last year and then the injury early this season. So it was good to get there and get some rust off and help impact the game.
Hey Cam. So I'm Richard Lucas. You and my son Landon, and so I've learned a lot about KU over the years because of him. And so I guess what drew you to the opportunity to come to Kansas in the first place? Like, what was the who reached out to you, and like how did that all work out, and how did you get here?
Yeah, so I first put my name in the portal. I got my extra year because of the COVID stuff, and I probably had like 100 schools reach out to me in the first week. And um, after I kind of was getting new phone calls from everybody every day. Somebody new calling me, so it was kind of hard to keep track with it. So finally, I was like, I'm just picking 5 schools. I think I'd be cool to go play there, good area. And so I picked the top 5, put it out on Instagram, and then like 3 days later, Coach Self calls me at like 10 o'clock at night. And I stood outside my parents' house for probably about an hour on the phone with him. And then I went inside and I told my parents, I was like, yeah, like, I'm going to Kansas. Like, it's the first, it's like I said, nothing else had to, just, I knew from that phone call and then just the history of Kansas, that's where I wanted to play at.
I see FIFA on in the background. I actually was just playing that as well. You a gamer?
Me and my roommates, we've been getting after the FIFA since the World Cup started. We've been playing FIFA.
All right, I'll hit you up. We'll get some games in. But I got a question.
Real quick before you ask that question, I just want you to know how old I am. I thought that was a real game. I didn't even realize that was I thought that was a real game.
Okay, no, that's highlights from his last FIFA game right there. Anyways, Cam, I want to know, what's been the biggest difference that you've noticed? I'm sure there's tons, but what's been the biggest that you've noticed between your time at Jacksonville State and then Missouri Southern and then now at Kansas? What to you has been the biggest change that you've noticed?
The biggest change I would say is just, first off, players-wise, the athleticism. I think there's a huge gap when you go from like Division II to mid-major Division I in like athleticism. I'd say skill set, honestly, it's probably about the same. There's times when I was playing D2 teams and you got a team like Northwest Missouri, which I don't think they should qualify as a Division II team first off, but they had 5 dudes on the court shooting 40% from 3. They had their point guard. He's in the G League right now. He's the leading 3-pointers in the G League. They were loaded. So there's some really teams out there. But I would say, the biggest difference I've seen is just athleticism and then just having to pay attention to details more. I feel like here the games come down to 1 or 2 possessions. Every possession matters, whereas at that level it was high-scoring basketball, not as much defense, more offense. But, yeah.
So, Sam, I can tell you that I've played and been in some of the best facilities for watching college basketball in the country. And I've told anyone who will listen that Allen Fieldhouse is the best place in the planet to watch a college basketball game. What is it about Allen Fieldhouse do you think makes it so magical for players?
I think the biggest thing is just, we know as players, it don't matter if we're playing Harvard, in Christmas time, it's 0 degrees outside, snowing. It sells out every game. The fans don't care if we're playing an exhibition game versus a Division II team. The fans are going to be there, and it's going to be just as happy as it is Duke versus Kansas. So the fans really set the tone for us, and just like the last game against Oklahoma State, they were a big part of our second half comeback.
Yeah, no, I always loved playing in those comeback games because from the moment you get any type of momentum all the way until, the very end of the game, especially when you take the lead over, that place is rocking. It's so much fun. And just enjoy it because there's nothing that you can really get that's close to that kind of environment and excitement. There's some places overseas, but it's second to none. I got a question for you as far as practice, because we've talked a lot about these bigs and all you got 5 bigs that are all kind of going for one spot. What's practice been like as far as, the red team, the blue team, the competitiveness? How's that been having 5 guys really all trying to battle for 40 minutes?
Yeah, no, it's very competitive. Every day in practice is competitive. Everybody's going for that spot. But, sometimes, with playing here, like when you get to like conference play, you'll start going against like the managers. Like we have managers get on the team. And so it's like you got 5 bigs. Well, if we're doing a drill, you got 5 dudes rotating. So it's hard to get reps, momentum, things like that. So that's one of the downfalls with it. But there's a lot of competing earlier, but here lately we've been playing so much, and with practice getting shorter with conference and stuff, it's not really a lot of competing to do because you're going against the managers or a lot of stuff. So yeah, it's tough sometimes.
So, we're both big, Landon and I. This is why we call this the glue guys, because we usually are the ones who did all the dirty work, and we're the engine, I'd like to call it, that makes this train run sometimes. But for you, it's I know what you've shown in terms of your time at Kansas, but what style of player are you, would you say? I mean, if are you somebody who likes to step out and shoot threes mainly? Or are you somebody who wants to post up, back to the basket, drop set? I mean, like, what kind of big are you?
I've always just played against, it's more about who I'm playing. So if I have somebody smaller, then I'll try and post them up, or somebody bigger and slower, then take and pop, put them in like a shooting position, play off the drive. But I'd say if people had this in my game, I'm more of an offensive threat than I would be like a defensive rim protector. That's for sure. And I think very underrated passer.
Now that we know what type of player you think you are and stuff, what is Coach Self asking of you? Because obviously, you're getting a couple minutes here in this last game. You're trying to build off of that and contribute to this rotation and get more minutes. What has Coach Self been telling you as far as what he needs from you? Because I know you're in practice. He's in your ear as far as, hey, this is what we need. He's in all the Bigs' ears, telling you guys exactly what he's expecting and needing. What's he been telling you as far as how you can get on the court and grow your minutes as a player?
Yeah, so he tells me all the time for me to play rebounding and defense. That's for me. I think if you ask him, he won't say a thing about my offensive game. I mean, my offensive game, not being cocky, just confident. My offensive game's there, but just playing defense at a high level and rebounding the ball.
So speaking of Coach Self, I was curious about the fact that you guys had this 15-point deficit, and you did what it took to come back and win this game. After the game, was he just like happy and like, okay, this is cool, everybody's happy, we won? Or was he like kind of ticked that that you put yourselves in that position in the first place?
No, he was actually really happy after the game. He came in with great, and said he's proud of us and the way we came back and fought. But the halftime speech wasn't quite as friendly as
that. Bet it wasn't.
Well, you were on that team last year. As far as you were in those practices, you were a part of those meetings. You were around it. What would you say is different about this year's team, or is the same? Like, how do you compare this year's team to last year's team that was able to ultimately get it together and win a national championship?
Yeah, I'd say like as a team, I mean, it feels like we have the same chemistry. We all get along great. We do things together as a team. I think when it comes to the difference, though, it's just the depth and like the veterans. Last year we were had so many veterans and so many transfers, older guys, COVID years, seniors, guys that have been in the system for Ochai was here for 4 years. David was here for 4. You had Mitch here for 6. So it was all guys that have been here forever. But this year we had a little mixture of guys that were coming back versus a bunch of freshmen and younger guys. So that's the main difference.
Hey, so I had a question for you. It's kind of off the court here a little bit. So kinesiology major, and then now you're working on your sports management. Is that right?
Yeah.
So let's assume that let's just say you have a fantastic 12-year career in the NBA and you're done and you want to do something else. Like why kinesiology or why sports management? Like, tell me kind of why you chose those majors in the first place.
But pretty much, I just want to coach. Whether it's depending on how long I play, I want to coach at the high school, college level. That'll be a factor. But so they pretty much said I can get any degree I want to be a coach. So I just went with that route. I knew a bunch of the teachers. A lot of them, like one was an old basketball coach for the women's team. So I went with that degree, and then hopefully after I'm done playing, whenever the ball stops bouncing, I'll do some of the coaching. And I'm also very interested in like real estate and stuff like that on the side.
Now you forgot to mention one thing. You came up to me while I was in Kansas, and you said that you were into poker as well. So tell us a little bit about your background in that. How did you get into poker? You know, my dad and I we're big poker guys. So tell us a little bit about your background in that.
My dad loves telling the story. Back when I was probably about 10 years old, and we drove about an hour and a half from where we were staying at Oklahoma City to go play with my cousins and some of their friends or buddies. And they let me play as all the men. I was a 10-year-old kid. And I busted my dad probably about 30 minutes in. And he had to play all night. I ended up finishing like second. But yeah, he loves telling this. That's where it all started. I mean, my dad just always played growing up. And then my best friend in high school, he's a huge poker fan too. So we would always watch videos, like YouTube videos of different guys all the time together and go play the casinos around Oklahoma. But ideally, yeah, I'd love to be a professional poker player when.
Yes, sir. There we go.
You're talking to the right guy. This guy definitely knows how to play, Landon. It's funny. I appreciate you saying that. Because I do play, but I'm a real recreational player. So, and the other two is I'm a wimp. So it's like if I'm playing, unless I have the nuts, I'm not betting. And if you even look at me, I'm folded. I'm like, I'm out. I'm done.
He's definitely playing for a min cash. That's for sure.
That's exactly right. I'm just there to have a good time, and then I'm out.
Well, something we ask everybody who comes onto the show. We love Bill Self stories, and so we want to know, what is your best Bill Self story in your few years here at Kansas? What would you say? It could be funny, just something that people may not, a side of him people may not see very often. What's your best Bill Self story?
My favorite one that people always ask, like, what's he like and stuff. Well, last year Jalen had his troubles at the beginning of the season, and he wasn't really playing well. He was shooting like a bad percentage. I think it was like maybe like 9% from three and like 25 from two. Like he just get coming back, need to get back in the swing of things. And we play at Oklahoma State first conference game. And Jalen had like, I don't know, I think it was like 20 and like 15 rebounds. And we let him come back. It was like a 6-point game, but we won. And we come into the locker room afterwards, and we're all thinking he just played great, whatever. And Coach Self tells him that was the worst game any KU players ever played. 8 rebounds, and not a single real rebound. I mean, he couldn't guard anybody. You know how he is, but it was a funny story.
Yeah, no, he's hilarious with some of the stuff he says and does. I've been told to swim home from Korea when we were in Korea before. I think the one, that story you just told reminds me of we had Kelly Oubre on the team, and he was struggling early on also, and he was starting to feel himself a little bit, playing well, getting a little bit of a rhythm, and he was in practice, and you could tell he was feeling himself a little bit after a good game. And Coach Self went up to him. He made some play, and he was like, "Change your face." And he was just looking at him. He's like, "This is just my normal face." He's like, "Just change it." And he was like, this is my normal face. He was like, "I need you to change your face or get out of practice." And everybody was so confused because it was really just like, he was just making the normal expressions he always does. But Coach Self had just had it with whatever it was, something about his aura that day he was not feeling. But yeah, I love playing for him. And it's awesome that, you're having that opportunity to learn from him, because if you're trying to get into coaching, what better guy than Coach Self to be around? What better coaching staff? I mean, everybody from top to bottom there is great to learn from if that's what you're really trying to get into.
For sure. Definitely right about that.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming on and giving us a little bit of your time. It was nice talking to you. I'll definitely be hitting you up, talking a little bit about FIFA and poker moving forward, and keep building. What was that?
Question for you. I was talking with Ted. He told me that you played with Phil Hellmuth.
Yeah. No, I've played with Phil. I've played with Negranu. I've played with just about everybody except for one person. I've been in many tournaments with him, but I've yet to play against Phil Ivey. And once I do, I will go broke trying to beat him. But no, I've had a chance to play with them. It was great. Phil Hellmuth, as far as the time playing against him, his no limit poker is not great. But his mixed game is really good. And it was actually the first time that I was playing mixed game with him. And it was fun. I had him to my right and Daniel Negreanu across from me, and I got a pretty cool picture of it. And so it was fun. You know, that's the thing about poker that's so cool is you have the opportunity to mix it up with these guys that you see on TV and have watched for years because of the way it's set up. And so I've been very fortunate to get to play against a lot of fun guys, and hopefully I'll get a chance to play against Phil Ivey, because that's how I got into it, is watching him. But it was cool. It was a cool experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But thank you for coming up. I'll be hitting you up, obviously, and we'll talk some more, and keep it up. Keep, expanding on your role in those minutes. What you gave the other day, that was a great start. Keep it going in practice, and hopefully we'll see more of you out there.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yep. Have a good one, man.
All right. Take care, Cam.
Well, it was nice getting a chance to talk with him. I know after his game the other day, like I said, I think this is an opportunity. We've been talking about these bigs a lot. He comes in, provides some good minutes, plays strong. Now is his chance to kind of build off of this. I mean, we may be talking in a few weeks about him being somebody who can provide a few of those minutes that comes in for those spurts and get into the rotation a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's just these spot minutes, and who knows if it will blossom or grow into something even greater than that. But I think you nailed it when you just said, hey, even if you're in for 4 minutes or 5 minutes, you got to give 100% of everything that you can give and really help this team. And that 4 or 5 minutes may turn into 7 and next another game. And then if something happens and someone gets injured or whatever, that all of a sudden turns into 15 or 20. So, and he's a nice young man. And of course he plays poker too. Look at that. I mean, he's a big, plays poker.
It was cool. He came up to me and told me that when I was there for the Indiana game. He was like, hey, I'm a big poker player. I heard you got a chance to play this and that.
Right.
But no, I think it's great. And more than anything, like I said, not only are you talking about playing time and contributing and, basketball after Kansas, but he's getting a chance. If he really wants to get into coaching, there's like very few places as good as Kansas. And so just soaking up those moments, those interactions with Coach Self, those moments in film study, walkthroughs, practice, games, all those things. If you're trying to get into coaching, not many places you would rather be. So I think that his decision to go to Kansas, regardless of how it works out playing time wise, is probably a smart decision.
Yeah, I mean, because if you think about it, coaches will spend gobs of money to hear a coach at the caliber of Bill Self just speak at a clinic for an hour or 2 hours or whatever it is. But imagine you're getting day in and day out travel, locker room. And the thing about coaching too, that some people kind of forget, is that it's not 100% about the X and O's, right? It's about the management, because you're the CEO. When you're the head coach at a major company or major college, you're like the CEO of a company, in which case you've got vice presidents and you've got others who are there, and you've got to oversee everything that's going on. And so there's a lot that goes into it that's outside of just practices and games, as well. So I hope he absorbs it all. And if coaching's in his future, then he's got a great teacher.
I mean, think about how many times I just bring up sayings that Coach Self used to say.
Right.
Just stuff, or how he handles it. I mean, if I were to get into coaching, I would just be copy and pasting a majority of that stuff that I learned from him, and then putting, your own tweaks on it. But you learn so much from him, and he learned so much from the people that he was coaching under, and had a chance to work with and whatnot. So it's really cool that if that's what he's trying to get into, he's having that opportunity. And I would love to see more of him on the court, because he went out there, he played tough. And, obviously, as we could have guessed, Coach Self is asking for very, very simple things: play defense and rebound. If you could do those two things, especially, in those spot minutes, you are going to play. It's pretty simple. And that's what I hope these bigs are understanding, because you can go out there and those are two things that you can control. You don't have to worry about your shot going down. You don't have to worry about getting the ball. You just got to guard your man. And if the ball's in your area for a rebound, go get it. If it's out of your area, make an effort to go get it. Exactly. And so that's really, interesting to hear. It was also interesting to hear that in practice, you got 5 bigs and they're getting into Big 12 play. You're starting to lose those competitive opportunities.
Right. What you said was going to happen.
And that's something that I was worried about. And it's happening a little bit earlier than I was even expecting. Obviously, Big 12 play kind of, speeds that process up. But you worry because now it does come to a point where your practices get really light. You have a lot of, like you said, managers stepping in to kind of dummy defense and stuff, and you lose a lot of those opportunities. So it puts even more emphasis on those 2 minutes. You better be going balls out. If there's a loose ball that you can't even get that's going out of bounds, dive out of bounds for it.
100%.
Do every little thing you can, because now if you're taking away those practice opportunities, it becomes extremely important to take advantage of any minutes in the game.
So now next up is Texas Tech. Is that what?
Texas Tech. So yeah, they're going, I believe, down to Texas Tech. So it's going to be the big Kevin McCullough game, the homecoming. So that's going to be fun. The atmosphere out there, they've done a great job turning that program into a great college basketball program. I know the difference between the first few years that I was at Kansas and then the last few years getting to play them. That atmosphere changed, and now you see it for anybody that comes into Texas Tech, getting a great environment. But now you got the return of their main guy from the last few years coming. They transferred to the conference rival, and now he's coming back. It's going to be fun. It's going to be juiced in there, and it's going to be a tough road test because you know how Big 12 road games are, and it's not going to be easy for them at all. Yeah,
there's something about conference road games. Like you can go into a non-conference environment that is difficult. Like they went into Missouri the other day, or whenever it was a couple weeks ago. But there's something about conference.
Yeah.
And especially the Big 12 and the fact that when Kansas opens up the doors and walks into that gym, I know it sounds super cliche, but it's true. This is circled on the calendar
100%.
for not only the players, but also for those fans. This has probably been sold out, weeks ago because KU is coming to town.
Yeah. And it's so fun as a player. These type of games are so much fun. Like I can only imagine how much fun they're about to have going out there and hearing all the boos that Kevin gets when he comes out there. And everything. Right. It's going to be so much fun. And I think the reason Big 12 or just conference games in general, especially road games, are so tough is the amount of knowledge that each team has on each other. You see for the first time somebody execute a game plan against Grady because they've probably been watching every single game for, knowing that you're going to get 2 cracks at it. And each team just knows those plays. I remember teams calling out the plays before we even did at certain times, just knowing situational, what Coach Self likes to go to, what certain players like to go to. So it's tough and it's a grind, but you got the best coach in the game to go through that grind. And hopefully these guys are prepared and step up to the call, because it's going to be another fun one down there in Texas. So.
Well, the thing is, too, remember, it's to win the conference, it's win your home games, try to split on the road. So if they can hopefully, get this, try to get some of these road ones early so that if they, inevitably they drop that late January, right? West Virginia, Tuesday night game, that it still keeps them in contention for winning the Big 12.
Yeah. Well, I say we wrap it up. It's been a fun show. We've got a chance to recap things and talk to Cam and now preview the upcoming game. So we'll be back again next week to kind of see how things go. This will be a tough road test. It'll tell us a lot about the team, and hopefully it's another. We're on a streak now with 3 podcasts where it's like, hey, everything's good.
It's all good.
Hey,
roses.
Championship.
And you win a fantasy championship, and I win a fantasy championship. Like, just the best.
Yes, all good. So hopefully that bad episode is not coming yet. But we'll see. And I'm working on Grady for you because I know you want to get Grady on here.
Yeah, let's get Grady on here. Let's do it.
And we'll be back again with a new episode next week. And thanks for listening. As always, like, subscribe, and leave comments and suggestions for us. We will see you next week.
Merry New Year. No, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.